Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back with a new video. This is my February wrap-up where I talk about all of the books that I read in the month of February. Except one. So before we continue on, this genocide of the Palestinian people by Israel is still ongoing 6 months later, though it seems like world leaders, not my own country, but others, are making small steps to stop this. There's still work that needs to be done. If you're unaware what's been happening for the last 70-something years or the last 6 months, links in the description to find out and educate yourself and ways you can support, and whether that's monetarily or writing to, if you're here in the US, your local congressmen and senators to work on a ceasefire and beyond. There are also links in the description for ways you can support the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the genocide that is going on there. Companies, which there are many, are supporting the mining of cobalt, which is in many of our electronics and batteries. And that is supporting regimes that are basically enslaving people in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the mines for cobalt, killing them by the thousands. So links in the descriptions for you to educate yourself on that and what you can do to support. Newly added is, as I said I would, as I learned what was going on and what were appropriate resources, it's been a year now, this war in Sudan, and what has been taking place there in the history, and basically the regular people are caught between two armies, and one is supported, of course, by outsiders, people not from that country, and there's basically a genocide of the Sudanese as well. So please check out the links below to learn what has been going on and how you can support the people in Sudan. We don't have to live in a world like this. So learning, growing, all in each 3 countries and the 3 regions I have listed. Also people you can follow who live in these places, who are going through these things and trying to share them with the world so you can get first-hand accounts. Please take care of yourself if you decide to follow these people and these accounts. It's not happy, fun times. So thank you for listening. Now, to give an accounting of myself reading wise, this is always an awkward transition no matter what, and it is what it is. Not looking for condolences or anything like that, or sympathy points or anything. If you don't know what to say, you don't have to say anything. Just as an explainer, my grandmother went into the hospital for the 3rd time this year in early March, and she passed away in late March in the hospital. Being one of her regular caretakers, and then kind of transitioning into one of the people after she passed, taking care of all of her effects, I didn't have a lot of time to edit any videos I had previously filmed. So you're getting stuff the last couple of weeks that I filmed over a month ago. But also to film things like this, which I would have in early March if I had the time. February. My grandmother had also been in the hospital in February and in the hospital in January, but these were much shorter visits. Anyway, I can't say that I read less in February. February is one of those months, though, where I'm seeing a trend now, thanks to BookTube. I'm paying attention to this stuff, that I wind up not having high ambitions and twisting myself up. But I finished a total of 5 books in the month of February. One, I am not going to go into detail here because it's part of a series, and I decided this year that I'm finishing some series, damn it. But also, I blame BookTube for this, actually. Like, I've finished series in the past, or I was up to date on series, but I've started so many, and then, like, wanted to be somewhat, I don't know, is it like a time aesthetic thing? Like, anyway, so a trend I saw that I thought I can keep up with, because I was like, I pretty much did that in the past, like reading one book a month for a series. But when you have so many ongoing series, that's difficult. And then when you're a mood reader, that's even more difficult. So here we are. But yeah, this series that I started this year, I will be doing like series updates, because I've always wanted to do that. Like, why not just put it all together in a video and gush about a series? So that's where you get that there. But I will say it was Junk Shop Blues, book 2, or season 1, episode 2 of the Criminal Intentions series by Cole McCade. This is a it's a male super slow burn. That romance is super slow burn, but the series is basically like a police procedural. Think like Criminal Minds or NYPD Blue or something like that. I don't know. All of those TV shows just exited my brain. Think like that. There's a case per episode, and we're following 2 detectives who were forced to be together. Anyway, I gave this one a 4.5, and so that was the 3rd book I finished. But backing up, another book I finished, the first one in the month of February, was Before They Were Hanged, book 2 in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. I'm reading this on my own as I go through it. This is technically my first official dark fantasy series. I have to say, it's April 15th as I'm filming this, so I haven't finished the trilogy yet, but I'm reading something else that feels darker to me. Because I don't like any of the characters. Everybody feels like either a villain or anti-hero or just absolutely insufferable person. And I don't feel that with the First Law trilogy. I understand and peep. It's very clear that there's anti-heroes in this. There's definitely some bad guys. We haven't sussed them out yet. But nobody is all good and all perfect or all nice or whatever. There's been 1 or 2 characters where I'm just like, oh damn. Like, I wasn't expecting that of you, and they did some pretty fucked up shit. Maybe it's because I knew that going in, but I still like a lot of people, and I think Joe Abercrombie, like, this was an experiment. So there's not much I could say specifically about this book. I listened to the audio. I gave it 4 stars. But the first Law trilogy, The Blade itself is book 1. And we're following several characters from different countries. Glocta is an inquisitor who has been tortured. He used to be the favored fencer of the king in his country, and he was sent to war and captured in that war and tortured, and he somehow escaped many years later to come back very crippled and became an inquisitor. Inquisitor is basically his country's version of a torturer. So that's his experience. He doesn't love it. I wouldn't say he's sadistic, but he kind of feels like this is it, right? There's also in that same country a younger man who is a nobleman, very much full of himself. I was trying to think of Regency romance term, but he's the current fencing champion, and there is a kind of competition coming up, and he thinks he's the shit, but he's kind of just a shit, and very shallow and bigoted. And the last main character from the first one is Logan, who's from the northern country, who are thought to be like barbarians, and he has been separated and thought as dead from his group, and sees that a new war is coming thanks to these visions he gets. So following his visions, he comes across this like master magician dude who's like, come with me, and they set off on a journey. All of our characters eventually come together. We still don't know why, like, what is the end point exactly, but there's a lot of strong feelings and a lot of shit going down. It's very violent graphically. So in this book, we get more of an ideal, like the more journey happens, they're going on a quest. And most of our characters are together on this quest. Glocta is separate, and I hope that wasn't a spoiler. We see more outside of the 2 main countries. We go to a southern country, and then, I don't know, some kind of wastelands, it seems like. We get introduced to some new characters, and we go more in depth with some characters that were kind of secondary in the first book. And yeah, the questing, and Logan is definitely my favorite character, which should be wild. But he is. I like the character development and the interpersonal relationships. I don't know how that's gonna go with book 3. Now it's been 2 months since I finished this, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I think I said I gave it 4 stars. There's just more traveling, but also a little bit more violence. We get to see some more characters' softer sides, and yeah, so like that gray morality thing, more when you feel like it. So that's before they were hanged. The next book I finished was Keep Me Close, Gods of Hunger, book number 2 by R.M. Virtues. I had bought this last year on Kindle. I gotta say, I didn't love it as much as the first one. So the Gods of Hunger series is like a modern retelling sort of the Greek gods. And in the first book, it was like a Hades and Persephone retelling. And in this one, it's Hephaestus and Aphrodite. I didn't realize that going in. I There's LGBTQIA plus rep in this, as well as them being characters of color. So we're back in Chaos Falls. I I just wasn't as into this couple as I was the Hades and Persephone, but I think in this one we spend more time with the couple building their relationship. It's kind of, I think, supposed to be hate to love, or at least strong dislike to love. Do what you will with that trope. Um, their reasons for disliking each other were all because of misunderstandings and assumptions they made about each other in the past, based on their own personal experiences, like reading each other's expressions negatively when the other person didn't say or think that. It just, again, their personal experiences and what they thought was going on with each other. But I was rooting for them in the end. I'm glad they got together. There was chemistry. So in this one, Aphrodite is the owner of a lot of nightclubs and brothels, which is legal in Chaos Falls, and Hephaestus is all about security, but also inventions, which makes sense. One of the reasons I didn't like this couple as much is because, okay, one of the misunderstandings and the thoughts from Hephaestus was like, oh, Aphrodite is so worshipped and she's so well liked, and like she's so well liked, she's worshipped and probably spoiled. And I didn't see any signs of that, like zero. So I don't know. Like, how does that transfer into a modern setting? It didn't for me. So I was just like, boy, what? Or guy, what? Dude, what? Usually with some kind of misunderstanding, it's like, okay, you could see how, like, that stereotype is what it is, and then you can see how the misunderstanding happened, even if you don't agree with it. I didn't see that there. And somewhat the same from Aphrodite's point of view. She felt like he was looking down on her and thinking she's empty-headed or she can't take care of herself, and that she's reckless. But that kind of bore out a little bit. Not that she's empty-headed, but that she's reckless. In some situations, she's just feeling so passionately about saving people, she's just running into things. So this kind of all starts out. They agree to work together to save people who are being trafficked. So there's human trafficking going on, but like Hephaestus has a plan to capture the top person and, you know, ruin their whole business. But Aphrodite goes in the very beginning. This is not a spoiler. This is how it starts. And goes to rescue these people, ruining the whole plan. So now everybody in that business is aware that she's watching. And since Hephaestus has been around a lot, he's probably watching too. Betrayals happen, and she needs to be guarded directly in person by Hephaestus. And there's only one bed, though he sleeps on the couch most of the time. So yeah, it's still good writing. I'm still a little confused about how Chaos Falls works, because it feels very modern, but it's not set in a real place. So, like, laws and such, I'm not sure about. And then I feel like some of their powers and abilities are kind of leaned into, but they don't have actual powers or abilities or magic. So I'm just like, some things feel a little amorphous with this series, but I do want to continue. I was just slightly disappointed by the couple, because from the end of the first one I thought we were going to be with a different couple. That's what I was expecting. So it is what it is. I didn't give this a review. I gave it 4 stars. It was good, just not what I was expecting. Next, I read The Witchery by S. Isabel. This was the February book, I believe, yes, for Paco's Bad Witch Books current book club. So this was the pick. I gave it 5 stars. This was on my list of like witchy books I want to read, and I love that. I'm not gonna go too much into this because I think I want to try to do a somewhat vlog type thing for it. But yeah, I gave it 5 stars. This, like I said, is a YA young adult fantasy, and we're in Halesford, Florida. There's this magic school, but people know about magic, like regular non-magic users are aware of it, and we're getting close to a time where these magical wolves come out of the woods and attack people every year, and people die, and we're following these 4 girls that go to the magical school. 3 of them have been longtime friends, and there's a new girl who joins their group, and they take it on themselves, even though many an adult has tried in the past, to kind of like break this town curse and get rid of these wolves that are killing people every year. And each of the girls has a different magical ability. They wind up having to bring in 2 boys from the regular humans living nearby, who have some connections to things. I thought this was good as a standalone, personally. Things wrap out pretty well. I like everybody. There's some chemistry between some of the characters, so I could see that being part of a plot line in a future book. I definitely want to read book 2. The last book I finished, I actually have physically here with me. I finally finished it, the 1619 Project. I didn't read any of this physically. I listened to the audiobook for the most part. I did want to hold up something, because editing in these book covers is a pain. Y'all know this. So this is a project created by Nicole Hannah Jones and the New York Times Magazine. This is the book format. I've been reading this since last year. I had to take a break, and I finally finished it. It was absolutely infuriating. There is a light premise of the idea, the starting of the U.S. as a country being in 1619, when the first slaves were brought here, rather than the other dates we'd be thinking about. And it goes on to express how slavery and influence this country for the next 250 years. We're a little bit past that now, but this came out in 2019, so it makes sense. Some schools have adopted some of this in their curriculums. There is not a TV show, but like a mini series that goes in depth, I think, into some particular topics in here. And of course, there's the New York Times Magazine, which was the original version of this. It's absolutely infuriating. It's just angry. Reminding me of a lot of things, and it's like I feel like I had a generally good education because I knew a lot of this. Maybe not in as much detail, and there's definitely more detail that can be gone into in each topic. It's like a collection of essays and poems and even some music if you listen to the audiobook on different topics and how, like I said, slavery has influenced so much about my country. So topics like democracy, race, sugar, self-defense, capitalism, inheritance, progress, justice, healthcare, and yeah, I'm seeing here in this one, there's also some pictures and things like that. For what it is, I don't know that I can properly give this a rating. There's definitely been some pushback. This is, this coming out is where the whole idea of critical race theory and the backlash against that have come from, and all of these people debunking the book and a lot of its thoughts and notes. I definitely want to go more in depth in some of these topics. There were a lot of books referenced in here, and the people who wrote them also contributed several of the essays, kind of summing up what they've put out in books before, and I just, I want to read some of those. The progress chapter, definitely the one that slapped me upside the head and caught me off guard a lot. We gotta have hope and positive thinking, otherwise, I don't know about you, but I will just sink into this quagmire of why bother? And especially as a black woman in this country, I'm like, well, what's the point of me living? So that I don't sit in that kind of thought process and it leads to where it leads to, I have to have hope, and I have to acknowledge milestones, I guess, and some kind of progress, but it's reminding me I also need to be real with myself about is it enough progress? And how a lot of it, what little of it there is the majority of it is kind of forced progress. So yeah, don't want to forget the past, don't want to redo it and relive it, but want to learn from it and do better. So I think this was well executed and well put together. I mean, there's going to be some bias here. I don't feel like there were lies told and misinformation given. So I guess we'll go wholeheartedly on 4 stars here. I think the way this is put together is very well done, and the audiobook was also very well done. in that aspect. Yeah. So that's the last book I'm going to talk about in this video. I'll come to you soon, probably in the same outfit, to talk about my March books. Like this video if you like this. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. If you have, it was a mixed bag. I think I was attempting, in general, to read some books by Black authors with Black main characters, as it being Black History Month, but not following any particular read-alongs or prompts or anything like that. I just trying to finish some things, finish a book, finish a series, continue a series. So yeah, reading what I own. How was your February, if you could still remember it at this point? I'm trying to think. Leave. I don't know. Is there a wand emoji? If you don't know what to say, leave me a wand emoji down below. And so I know you're here so you can support. Share this video so more people can see it. Linked in the description, like I mentioned, was you can learn about and help the people of Palestine, the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the people of Sudan. Don't forget to share those links with others so they can learn and help too. Also, if you'd like to follow me on my Instagram or Twitter, you can. Twitter is more bookish than Instagram, though neither has had anything really this year. I am still continuing my remixed classics read along. It's just the February book I didn't finish till March 1st, so that will be talked about in March on my March wrap-up video. You can follow me on Goodreads and Storygraph, though my Goodreads is a mess. Follow my Storygraph definitely for proper updates of what I'm reading. Guys, there's also a link to my Etsy shop where I make all natural bath and body products, as well as a 10% off discount code if you'd like to purchase something. I have recently opened a Patreon, and the tier specifically for my bookish followers, you will get 124-hour read-along reading sprints a day, a month, but also one dedicated video that will not be available here on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, I'll have 2 of those coming out because, of course, March also messed up my Patreon uploading schedule. So follow me on Patreon, guys. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.